start. Tonight's the director, and we have our partner from Doris. Hey. So I'm going to put this up here. You tell me if you can see it. And we're going to start. I have some questions that I'm going to ask, and then we're going to open it up for y'all for questions. I'm sorry that I felt that way. Y'all can hear me like that.
Is the volume go any higher on here?
Take your time.
It's not. Yeah. The internet. Oh, that's helpful. Where is he? He should be in a room down there. The internet comes and goes, and that's why it stops from time to time here. I can put my hotspot on. I can do that, but he'll have to. But I'll have to get out of here.
Can you hear me, Noelia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Good.
Okay. So what you have in your package is you have a yellow sheet, and I'm going to start with some questions for Mrs. Matzo. Mrs. Matzo has been a principal at high school, right? High school, Texas, and Mercedes High School, which has a very long and experienced past in education. And Mrs. Noelia Lajardo is one of our facilitators that has been at Mercedes High School for quite some time. So we're going to focus on their experiences. And the first question I have, Mrs. Masso, is for you.
Okay.
You would think back on your experiences with Europe. What do you think went particularly well?
Well, I think, first of all, because the intent of Gear Up is to establish a college mindset, I think the overall, I guess, recollection is knowing that so many opportunities and resources were brought into play over the duration of the 4 years for the kiddos in high school, that there was just no way they could leave high school without saying they didn't know enough about what it would take to be prepared for college, or having access to colleges, or having access to preparation for admissions, or even being challenged and taking dual classes, or just knowing that when all was said and done, they would have an opportunity to step onto a campus, you know, and see what life would be like. So, you know, there were an array of resources and opportunities that were brought in by this program, and had Gear Up really not been there, I think we would have lost a lot of opportunities for planting these seeds at a very, very young age for these kiddos as they enter high school. So I think that's the biggest thing that really just kind of encompasses my recollection of the whole program and what it brought to the kids.
A second question for you, Mato, is we've been talking a lot about Gear Up being a part of helping the principal get towards their vision. How did Gear Up contribute to you reaching your college readiness goals at your campus?
That is a very, very loaded question, and I definitely want to hit as many targets as I can. I think just with Gear Up having come on board and to be able to reach that college readiness goal mindset, we had so many things that were promoted for the kids to establish. We're talking from being able to build partnerships, you know, with the community and higher ed. We're talking about being able to promote the importance of TSI testing early on to be able to enroll in dual classes. And we're talking sophomores going into dual classes. We're talking about being able to establish portfolios that these kiddos could keep throughout the duration of their high school, more so emphasizing their junior and senior year, where they could have all their testing data, where they would have a collection of their college admission information, where they would have different careers that they were starting to consider, because of the opportunities that were being presented to them, different colleges and what they were demanding. We're talking about even just the mere fact that they were able to have access to even FAFSA, the preparation through financial aid, even having parents learn more about what was this college mindset going to really entail for my kiddo once he or she was to leave high school. I know here in the Valley, you know, it's a very close-knit community and very conservative. So just being able to break those boundaries for parents and helping them see what the kiddos were to be embarking upon, I think was the most awesome thing that it brought into play to helping them understand that if we don't set goals for our kids to be able to grow beyond boundaries, you know, we'll never know what they're capable of reaching and achieving. And so, I mean, just unbelievable the number of things that the Gear Up basically presented to our kids and access to our kids and ultimately allow them to take part in. And I'm telling you, the college visits, the college classes, just the opportunity to walk on, you know, and even stay on a campus in the summers, because Gear Up, you're talking, it's daytime, it's after school, it's Saturday sometimes, it's even summer. So it was, I think, just an array of things that just made it all come together. So, I mean, there's just no way that the kiddo could not have had opportunities for growth.
Thank you. Ms. Laharlo, the next question is for you. How would you see Gear Up in relationship to overall campus and district activity?
I'm sorry, Tina, can you repeat that?
Yes.
Barely hear you.
How would you see Gear Up in relation to overall campus and district activity? What is your role as a Gear Up facilitator helping the district get toward their outcomes?
Okay, you were breaking up a little bit, but I think I understand what you were asking, what my role was as a facilitator and promoting the program. So the facilitator's position is being able to work with the kids and work with the administrators so that the program can go forward. And it is, you have to embrace it. You have to have full support of the administrator. Your principal support is a vital asset to the program. Ms. Masso and I had a very, very good working professional relationship, and she made me grow as a professional because I wanted to do everything for the kids and offer as much as I possibly could, but she made me think on every aspect of the Gear Up program, and all the objectives said that, how is this going to help the kids? And what are the kids going to get out of it? You know, are we using and utilizing our funds correctly? Are the students benefiting from this? And how are we going to sustain this as Gear Up moves on? So between both of us, I think that we were able to collaborate very well and continue and promoting the program respectfully and doing due diligence to all the students in the program.
So my next question was for you, Mrs. Laharlo, your principals. I think actually, how did your principals help you to integrate into the campus culture as a whole? So how did she facilitate your relationships with counselors, with administrators, with the other people, teachers that you needed to work with in order to get to goals?
That question was for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We always had, Ms. Masso always allowed for us to work with our teachers and our counselors. We always tried to have a plan to be able to work with everyone. We have summer training for our teachers, and the selection was made by the administrator and our dean to select the best teachers to be able to work with our kids, and the counselors as well. And so there was a lot of planning involved when we needed to make those decisions as far as professional development for teachers and counselors as well.
So Mrs. Masso, this is a two-part question, Mrs. Masso. First part is, how has GEAR influenced your understanding of what needs to be in place in your district in order for students to succeed in college?
I think the very first thing that I would have to say is crucial is that you need to have support at all levels, all the way down. You're talking from central office down, obviously, to the campus. And in that support, there's got to be open communication across the board to encompass all stakeholders. You know, the support of the superintendent, assistant sup is crucial, as it is your core subject coordinators to know what's happening, but more so the staff that is chosen to teach the kids in Europe, along with the overall staff. It's crucial that they be part of the entire picture, so that we can see this cohort of students truly benefit from everyone, not just the selected few teachers that are being you know, given the staff development to help them succeed, because you're wanting to set a culture that is going to embrace an entire group of kids, which could be 300, 400, 500, you know, depending what the size of your high school is. And everyone's got to be on that same mindset. Another thing is, I think the understanding has got to be where all stakeholders also can be supported of the different activities, given the fact that you do have groups of kids that need to be out for different things. You do need, you need to have teachers committed to being out to be part of the support for these kids. Even the commitment of the support for these kids in the summer. You know, sometimes it's not just your 8 to 5 job that you're going to be there to serve kids. And so when you take everything into account, you want to have as many stakeholders having the input, but ultimately the services that the district is to provide is crucial, because that's part of the district helping these kids succeed. And even all the way to transportation, mind you, you know, because when all is said and done, we want to give them every facet of every tool possible to be able to say that I achieved what I needed to achieve while I was in high school. And I wanted to just plug one thing in there. I think the biggest blessing that came out of Europe as well, tied into, aside from the professional development, was just the immense technology that we got at the high school. And I mean, that in itself, you know, is saying a lot, because the district was able to put into the hands of our kids much more technology, because ultimately maybe budget would not have allowed for so much to be placed into their hands. And that in itself was another way to see this success happen for our kids and being able to continue to build on that college mindset.
Well, and Mrs. Masso, you were, along with several other principals, you were definitely an influencer in this project. Can you talk just a little bit about how you were able to direct of the Europe project?
I think the most important thing there, Tina, was that I believe in being accessible. You know, and that started with my door hardly ever closed unless there was something crucial. But I mean, they could come in and address anything in particular. So the accessibility was very important. I think providing the support for their activities on campus and off campus, even into the summer, that was crucial, because sometimes you had to come up with the additional funding for the particular initiatives. And so that was where you need to really, really say, you know, this is so crucial and it's needed. We got to go the extra mile and find the funding for them. Being present at some of their activities is also very crucial, and making sure that you can be part of the parents' understanding as well. Because like I said earlier, we got great kids, and a lot of these kids, they do have dreams. But the last thing you want is for maybe a parent to take some of those dreams away. They're not even sure how important this college mindset, you know, that we're building is, and important for them to know this is a new door that's going to open to lead to greater and better things. And maybe sometimes it does mean having to leave home, you know. And so all this taken into account, the meetings were crucial when we had them with parents. And I think just the mere fact that the activities allowed for an array of things that would allow kids, whether it be a male or a female, based on certain days held during the year, or your advanced level kids having opportunities to go stay, you know, at a particular campus because they were able to do dual type work. All these things, I believe, were we're all, because I was very much in support of giving my kids the best we could give them. Because I'm saying one thing, you know, if we're not there to support our kids and we're not going to embrace every opportunity, knowing that sometimes, yes, you know, you're going to have growing pains because you weren't used to doing certain things all the time like this, then we're going to shortchange our kids. And I believe with all my heart that if you cannot be accessible and be willing to embrace new things and change as well, you know, we do tend to become stagnant and we never allow for growth to really happen.
And I hope you don't mind me interjecting, just from a project standpoint. One of the things that also you bring is that your initiative that we really try to bring it to you come and say, this is a challenge I think. Let's problem solve this challenge so that I want it to be successful. So he would really kind of, I mean, take at every meeting, pull us aside and say, let's talk about this. Which was for me as a director, and it's incredible. Can you hear me, Pat?
Barry, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But that was for me as a director, just incredibly important. You are only as woman. So, Mrs. Masso, another question I have for you. You have multiple principles here from several feeder patterns. I don't know if it's my phone. You have multiple principles with several feeder patterns. What recommendations would you give them for utilization of the facilitator as part of the division?
I think that there could be probably a couple of things. The very first thing, definitely establish a regular bond with this individual where you meet on a regular basis. Whether you set that meeting to be as that facilitator, maybe sitting as part of your meeting with your counselors or including that person as part of your admin team. Maybe certain things did not happen the way I wanted to see them happen in this past round, but I would love to say that if that next round would be there, things would definitely have to be tightened up here and there to truly have that dialogue at all times. So include them in the counselor meetings or include them in the admin meetings as needed. Definitely share a calendar of events. It's crucial. You need to have a calendar of events to be able to say, this is what we're doing for the month of October, but at the same time, this is what we've already got coming up next month. And so I think when it comes to incorporating a facilitator as a member of the team, you know, these particular avenues are crucial because presence is important, the calendar of events is important, and basically even bringing some data into discussion on a regular basis because, you know, the facilitator is big time student support and should be taking into account an array of data, depending as to the year that they're in high school, depending as to what projects have taken place, depending as to, you know, what are some initiatives they're wanting to try to help kids come up to par when it comes to either struggling with grades or not having sufficient credits or even trying to embark upon new initiatives. All these things have to be part of a discussion that the facilitator should be part of at least a team, whether it be combined with admins or strictly with counselors, but with the understanding it happens regularly. And that calendar events is crucial to be able to not only plan for the immediate, you know, time, but ultimately for what lies ahead. But when all is said and done, you know, there could be other means of communication that must be maintained in the email. Communicate through email on a regular basis, you know, because that in itself keeps everyone in the loop. If you can't have an immediate meeting, by all means, you know, put regular emails out there or, you know, do shout outs, let them come in and do some great shout outs about great accomplishments because we even need to hear from them about the great things that our kids are doing.
So, Mrs. Wajardo, hearing what Mrs. Masso said about recommendations, can you describe a typical day or work week and the kinds of activities
a typical day or work week, and
What kind of activities? What kind of interactions?
activities.
Administrators with
Our job as a facilitator is very demanding. We're housed at the high school, but and you, we service the students, and we're also part of a high school. So we answer to the admin, and then we also answer to the Region 1 Service Center. And so a typical day would be recruiting kids for different events that we're having. It'd also be meeting with students on a daily basis, depending on what grade level they are at. Doing presentations with our students, and inputting data. Those are 4 major things already that I've already stated. And there's only 5 days in the week, and maybe one of those days includes a college trip or an event to the university, such as HESTEC or Festiva, or any other events that Europe is putting on. So it's recruiting, talking to kids, parent phone calls, parents are calling in, sometimes even calling and seeing why kids are absent and why they've been absent. A teacher could come to you and ask, I'm having trouble with the student, do you know anything that's going on? And a facilitator gets very close and gets to know the students very well, gets to know the parents very well. And so a lot of times we have insight on what is happening with those kids, and we can share that with our counselors and definitely with our admin and our teachers. And so we can try to see if we can take care of a situation or talk to the parents or bring in the counselors and see what we can do to make sure that kids stay on track. And we don't want them to fall behind. We want to make sure that they are with the cohort and that they get their credits and they graduate, and we can move them on to the next level at the university. So it's a busy job.
And how important is our relationships with other professionals?
It is very important that you keep the line of communication open with other professionals. As we go through the cohort, I was able to get to know our 9th grade teachers that are our teachers 9th grade, and also then moving on to 10th grade and 11th grade. And so eventually you end up knowing all the teachers. But it is very crucial that you keep that line of communication open with them, because they will assist you and help you with anything that you ask. If they want to be chaperones for an event, if they want to come and math teachers, science teachers, our core subject teachers for professional development, when they get the equipment, you always have to be there for them. If they're servicing our kids, I think it's crucial that you build that relationship with them and that you stay in contact with them on a weekly, daily basis. Emails. I always would send out an email, hey, how's my Gear Up team? Or the beginning of the year, I would always say, welcome to Gear Up. You guys are so lucky. It's 11th grade or senior year or something like that. So to introduce myself to them. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Masso, we have one last question for you before we're going to let this group discuss, and then if they have questions for you all, they'll come forward. The last question, and this is a biggie, how did you utilize the data that the project brought to you, Mrs. Masso?
I think, first of all, the data was it was a magnitude amount of data, given the fact that you were monitoring everything on these kids, from did they have credits, were they passing their classes, what was their GPA like, were they aware of what their GPA was like, were they maintaining, keeping up with their degree plan, were they fulfilling their college admissions paperwork, were they already done with FAFSA, all these things were just an immense amount of information that needed to be maintained to truly say that when you had to say goodbye to that child, he or she had completed as much to be self-sufficient in the higher ed arena, but ultimately to say that they were not lacking anything before graduation, because if we don't have this kind of data to look at and really look at on a regular basis, and hopefully early on their senior year to say they're on track versus they're not on track, then we have kiddos, some seniors come spring saying, I still don't know where I want to go, or I still don't know what I want to be, or I have no idea what kind of major I want to pursue, much less I haven't even gotten my college applications in. And so the data is so crucial when it comes to the facilitator maintaining this database that has every child identified, and in their talks being able to document what each child has already accomplished and what each child has to still have as a follow-up. Because to me, this is where it all comes together. This is the hub. That database is the hub of what Gear Up is striving for from the moment they walk into high school to the moment they graduate, because that GPA starts counting freshman year. Those credits started, accumulating very quickly. And the most important thing is you want that degree plan that they have for their graduation for high school to be as challenging so that they will know how to embrace, these college level courses when they do leave high school. Because let me tell you one thing, some of our kids did get associate degrees while they were in high school. And so that says a lot for a child. If we open those doors and we stay on them and we monitor them and we speak to them regularly, they will have, that support, but more than anything, they'll have that open avenue to keep coming back to you and saying, what else do I need? Or did I do this right? Or, what else can you guide me to do? Because if we don't have that data to look at on a regular basis, then the real question is, how do we measure the success that we were supposed to basically have for each child before he or she exited, and to make sure that they're leaving as a cohort. That cohort it's worth gold. You want to lose very few, if at all any, because that's what this grant is to help you do. Move that cohort unified from year to year and get them all to graduate on time with their cohort.
And you said something very profound to me the other day, which was it's not just about the creme de la creme, it's about the student who's struggling, every single student.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to take this moment, and if you all at your tables could visit for just a few minutes, and if you have questions for Mrs. Masso or for Ms. Masso or for Mrs. we'll share the question. Just a few moments to discuss what you've heard and decide if you've got questions.
I'm going to switch out the internet source.
We're going to switch out the internet source right now because it's breaking up. So it'll be just a moment, but don't leave us. Don't leave us.
I'm just saying.
So she's a leader.
Okay. This should give us a pretty good connection. Sorry about that. I hated to stop it in the middle of it to do that. Okay,
This should
I
be a
got it.
better connection.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting for some moment.
It's when they're
Okay, we can finish up at the table. Pat, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hope you've got a more stable internet. So, here's the group again. Do you all have any questions for either Monto or this end? Can we come up here? So, I know it's not so much. I don't know if the mic will work. Yes. Is this the microphone? This is the mic of the camera.
okay. So right now you are. It's hard to see up there, but yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
And this is Guajardo. This is Miss Grattan. I'm from Austin ISD, and currently we have two a brother and sister school. I'm at the Young Men's Leadership Academy, and my colleague here is from the Young Women's Leadership Academy. We had a question about being a Gear Up facilitator. If you had a cohort of students that went to not just one high school, perhaps two different high schools, how would you structure yourself to where you can serve those students that go to two different high schools as opposed to one?
Okay, let me repeat the question to see if I heard it correctly. So you're asking, you and a colleague are at one district, one school right now currently, and the cohort will be split into two high schools?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. I have had that situation posed to me when we were at the middle school, because our middle schools we went from one middle school to two middle schools. So right now, that is something that I'm having to deal with. So we are in the discussions of, will I be, obviously I can't split myself in half and be there every day, but it looks like I'm going to be, if we do receive the new grant and we are awarded, it looks like I may be half the time at one middle school and half the time at the other middle school, and then one day to do data entry. But you are talking about high school, and that is much, much more difficult to handle than at middle school, because at the high school level, the demand is much higher at a 9th grade than it is at a 7th grade level. I'm not saying that it's not as important, but at a 7th grade level, we do a lot of awareness and a lot of presentations and a lot about learning what Gear Up is, learning what we're going to offer. And so it's a lot of discussion with some field trips. However, at the 9th grade level, we're already looking at TSI testing. We're already looking at dual enrollment. We're already looking at visiting schools outside our area and our region. One person to handle a cohort of more than 250, 300 kids is, in my eyes, would be too difficult. It's just imagine what a counselor with an alpha of like 300. I mean, it's almost the same thing, because you're following that group of kids.
Well, yeah, could they do a team of people who are already at the campus? Maybe if there was a team created of the counselors that kind of thing with the facilitator working with them. That might work.
Yes, that is a good idea. I was going to suggest that because you could always have a key person there on that campus when you are not there. And so you can always have a designee that you can always fall back on. It could be a counselor. It could be a department head of one of a kind. But definitely there has to be a person there that you can always come back to. But high school level, you would need a team or 2 people.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have questions for Mrs. Mojado or for Mrs. Masso?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll come over here. And if you'll tell us who the question is for.
It's like you're looking up my nose. Hi.
No, you're
I'm
not,
Valerie
actually.
Preference Sweat by this middle school. So nice to meet you and thank you for sharing today. I have a question for you. So your model was the same as ours in terms of it was just one grade level, right? That it followed them through?
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Starting in 7th grade.
Starting in 7th grade. Okay. And so if that model was only for that one cohort of kids, how did you just ensure that you were still being equitable to the other grade levels and providing them the same or similar opportunities without the support there? That was like one of my questions. And then the other one, if you could be thinking about if you could have requested anything from the middle schools to help support the kids even more with this program in high school, what would that be that we could start working on? And I also wanted to thank you for sharing about the calendar of events. That was really helpful. We've sat down with our Gear Up facilitator and gone over that just so that things are pre-planned. Because it sounded like communication is going to be key with this. And one of the concerns, I'm giving you a whole bunch of questions, I'm sorry. I'm just like excited to talk to you because you have experience with this. So one of the things was that I really was hoping, and our team was hoping, that we could be as prepared as possible and as proactive as possible with dates and all of that, that we intend to do these things, because I don't want there to be a level of frustration from our teachers saying, oh, you're taking the kids again, or something like that, where we have everything really pre-planned and a protocol even for the kids to say, okay, if you're going to these things, know that you're going to have to do A, B, and C in order to be successful. So I know I've asked you a lot, but just answer any of those. And thank you so much for your time.
Okay, well, let me jump in, but I can't really address much about the middle school because I did not open up a Garrett grant at the middle school. But the question, if I may carry it to high school, when you would do for a freshman, you definitely may have couple of stragglers that were never in the cohort. And it's not like you forget them, but you also have that mindset of the team comes into play where you have your counselors are still having to pick up some of the slack and making sure that what we expose the Gear Up cohort to, they also have to at least be keeping abreast with the same type of information for the kiddos that were not in the original cohort. Because if I may clarify, you do have newcomers out of the blue that come in, and more than anything, you may have some that, for whatever reason, transferred from a whole different place and maybe locally, and they were never part of that cohort. So you hold counselors responsible for trying to maybe equalize, if you will, the same opportunities for that respective grade level. But one thing I would suggest, I would always have this mindset with my counselors, and kind of like the Gear Up would just follow suit because of the fact that you have certain expectations for freshmen that you want to get done, certain for sophomores, certain things for juniors, and certain things for seniors. And if you have that mindset established for what do you want freshmen to at least walk out of freshman year knowing, same for sophomores, et cetera, then you can at least say one thing, that at least Gear Up is going to cover what they can cover, but you'll always have something in place so that all the other kids that never fall into that cohort have every opportunity already defined for what they have to satisfy. And we may not offer everything to the ones that are not in cohort, but the one thing is they still have exposure to the colleges, to the admission process, to the college reps that come on campus. So in a way, you can still balance it using your counselors. And as for Noelia, I don't know if you want to talk about the middle school part.
I just want to chime in on what you said, Ms. Masso. The the cohort after our gear up, the grade after our cohort, always seems to benefit the most because we've already trained the teachers, excuse me, and the equipment remains on campus with that grade. And so we move on to the next grade, but the class behind our cohort is what benefits the most. They benefit the most. I see that happening. As far as the middle school, what I see that really helped, like Ms. Masso said, when we started with this grant, I went to 7th grade, and I believe Ms. Masso started at the high school at the same time. And so we have a district leadership team, and so Tina was very smart in asking that the high school principals be part of the DLT. And so as I didn't know Ms. Masso at the time, but I got to know her as a high school principal, and we did have these DLT meetings with admins from the middle school and the high school. And I think just all of us coming together, knowing what to expect and what was happening, she got an insight of what was happening, and I got to see Ms. Masso, and we got to share at least what the expectations were when I got there. She was able to stay abreast on what was happening at all times. So I really think that the DLT, bringing in the whole team, the feeder schools that will be receiving your kids at the high school is important as well.
And what the DLT is, it's a vertical team of administrators that meet specifically on college readiness. And they would meet 4 times a year. We would have a full day where they would examine the data, they would work together. And for some of our large comprehensive high schools and large middle schools, we had teacher leaders that were on that team also. It was the only time we were able to say, this is what I think should be happening for college. So those vertical, I'm sorry? 4 times a year.
And how often do y'all vertical teams? Once a month?
So maybe some of those vertical team meetings could be specifically about college readiness. Mrs. Masso, and I think one of the questions that they had about middle school was, as a high school principal, if you could choose one thing that the middle schools could do to help kids be ready when they came to you, understanding college readiness, what would it be?
Wow. For sure, I'd have them all TSI ready. Yeah. I'll tell you that right now. Because that would tell us a lot about their strengths and weaknesses as they're coming into high school, given the fact that some of these kids really, they're ready. Like some of them will do algebra, and some have started doing English 1 right now at a middle school. They're coming into high school already, going into geometry and English 2. And when you put the TSI before them, it's a good measure to see how strong they are as readers, writers, or definitely, obviously, math. But that will set a good tone for us to go by. Granted, they have their state exams, but this kind of like also gives you a different eye view as to how their strengths could be maybe measured in a different way versus they're still very deficient in some basic information. And so that would be my ideal goal, to see a TSI score for every entering freshman.
Any other questions for Ms. Masso or for? Well, our dear grant had partnerships with iPad technology, with Fire technology, but we have training. So teachers would go to 5 to 10 days of training, targeted to their curriculum, and that's the technology she's talking about. I really want to thank you all. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today and for your insights. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome, ma'am.
You're welcome, Tina. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Whoops.
Bye.
And the camera just fell on the table.
And I knocked the camera.
That's right.
Okay, I will.